Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is supported by the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Telecommunications Access Minnesota, and Nisswa Tax Service. Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Across from City Hall in Nisswa and online at nisswatax.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lakeland Currents. We're glad you're with us, where tonight we look at the Crow Wing County Sobriety Court. And we start our show this evening with a piece done by Annie Cook on one of the graduates from this program.
Cassie Fox has battled drug addiction since adolescence, cleaning up and relapsing, a cycle she and her family know all too well.
Well, I'd already been to treatment a numerous amount of times since my younger years.
But since February 3rd, 2008, Fox has been clean, working full-time and raising 2 children, with another on the way.
I can't say that I'm going to be clean the rest of my life. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to, that's all I can do. Try and be the best person I can be.
It's a life that might not be if it wasn't for her acceptance and recent graduation from the Crow Wing County Drug Court.
No, I'd have probably lost my kid, and I probably wouldn't have had, because I had my 1-year-old when I was in drug court. I had him September of '07. And then, he wouldn't have came about. I don't think I'd be where I am today without it.
Through community corrections, the county offers drug and DWI courts to eligible offenders who are put through an intensive screening process.
Yeah.
Similar to Fox, most participants are ready to make permanent life changes.
The participants in the drug and DWI courts, they're motivated to make changes in their life. There's not a lot of incentives for participating in these programs.
Even without perks, participants know this may be the only way to achieve a clean and sober outcome.
I had to have that, person in control of me to know, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. It was basically them showing us a way to kind of live your life.
Whether you learn to stay busy, surround yourself with positive people, or just enjoy being clean and sober, drug and DWI courts can be the answer for those asking the question, how can I change my life? For Lakeland News at 10, I'm Annie Cook.
My guests this evening are all members of a team that work in the Crow Wing County Drug Court system. Carolyn Hamilton is the Crow Wing County Drug and DWI Court Coordinator, and her role covers lots of things, which we'll get into a little bit this evening as we go along. David Hermerding is the Assistant County Attorney for Crow Wing County, and one of his primary roles is prosecuting people who come before the courts. And Judge David Teneyck is one of the 9th District judges, one of 20-some 9th District judges, who works in the Brainerd office, or the Brainerd Court, I should say, and who also was a former state senator from the greater Brainerd area. Welcome to all of you for being on the show. Appreciate it very much. David, maybe you could help us out a little bit by helping us understand, traditionally, when someone gets in trouble and goes through the court system, what's the historical track been?
Sure, and that's what most courts are like, Ray. What you'll find is we're an adversarial system where you'll have someone such as myself, the prosecuting attorney, you'll have the defendant, and oftentimes more than not the defense attorney, and we're sort of waging a war back and forth, if you will. My job, of course, is to try to get a conviction for the state. The defense is working to see that his or her client is exonerated. And we're sort of working against one another at that point. Drug courts are very different, very different. That adversarial system is taken away, and we're working towards sort of rehabilitating that individual.
Carolyn, I know this is not a new concept. There are a number of these courts across the state. But when did this court start in the Crow Wing County area, and how is it different now from the historical perspective?
Well, drug courts typically are non-adversarial, as Dave had said. We are treatment-based. We utilize a team concept. It's very comprehensive. We have a judge, we have a prosecuting attorney, a defense attorney, we have law enforcement, CD assessor, counselor, and there might be 1 or 2 other individuals on the team that meet on a weekly basis. We are working towards an end result of graduation for these participants who have committed their time and attention and their lives to making major changes. We are, the drug and DWI courts in Crow Wing County are 2 of 35 courts in the state of Minnesota. Our drug court started in June of 2006, and the DWI court started in February of 2008. So we haven't had any graduates yet from DWI court, but we are getting close. The graduates from the drug court, I believe we've had 19 out of 50 participants. And we are really under the umbrella of problem-solving courts or specialty courts. There are adult drug courts, juvenile drug, adult DWI. There's one tribal wellness court, family. We have a few family dependency treatment. There are about 5 hybrid courts, which are a combination of DWI and drug court. And we also have what's called wellness courts. So we have a little bit of variety. They're all problem-solving courts. And they have the benefit of this comprehensive team, which includes also outside agencies, and we try to find the best fit for the individual and what their needs are.
I might add that all of you are volunteers in this process. This isn't a requirement of your jobs, because you all believe that there has to be a better way of helping people than just to incarcerate them.
Most of the participants on the team they're including this time into their regular workday. The probation officers, who are also part of the team, they're a big part of the team, they are full-time positions. And that's all they do is drug court and DWI court. My position, I do get, I'm a paid position, half for each court. But we do also have matches, in-kind matches from social services, the defense attorney. They put in their time, and they're included in when we apply for grants, that in-kind match. So,
why is there a distinction between DWI and drugs in this particular case?
The needs are different. The overall programs are based on the drug court standards, the national drug court standards that have been adopted and implemented by the state of Minnesota. But the requirements and the needs of the individuals for each program are pretty unique. Abuses and addictions, they're not so different. But, actually as we get into maybe a little more about the requirements, the screenings, those are a little different for each court.
It took a lot of courage for Cassie to come on statewide television and talk about her case, and I was struck by the fact that she said there's no way she was willing to guarantee she could stay clean. But she has gone through, is she one of your first graduates? Or at least one of your early graduates?
She's one of our earlier graduates, okay. Yes.
So she has been through a process of being clean and sober for at least 18 months. Would that be the time frame you're looking at?
That's correct. I think Cassie was in the program a bit longer, but that was about the length of time that our traditional program is, yes.
I peeked into your chamber, Judge, on the Monday, and this must be heart-wrenching to see what you have to deal with every day. I mean, I think for a person who has not been in the court system or who's not been in trouble, it's probably hard to imagine what you see on a daily basis or a weekly basis with some of the families you're dealing with. Do you get hardened to it?
I hope I never get hardened to it. I think being on the bench and dealing with programs like DUI court and being involved in, or drug court, or just being in court in itself, I think a judge needs to maintain a human perspective on it and have a, not be hardened, as you said. I think it's something I strive for, and it's something I think is real important from perspective from the bench, to not become hardened by it. there are days that it gets long and you wonder sometimes, but in the end, I truly hope we all on the bench never become hardened to the realities of some people's lives, particularly those that suffer from addiction.
How do you decide that a person is a candidate to go through this process?
For the drug court, which I work in, when someone comes in oftentimes on a new charge, when they're in custody, the documents will come to me first, the police reports, things like that. I'll take a look at that information. I get a bit of a background about the person, what their criminal history is like, and that's something that we look at up front. For drug court, we take non-violent situations, non-violent felons. We don't take people in with, say, a crim sex conviction or certain assaultive convictions. That's both for funding purposes and also for the integrity of our program. So after I've taken a look at what that person's background may be, I'll bring that person to our staffing. We meet just about every Thursday, and I'll bring that person's case forward, and oftentimes I'll have talked to Kay Wilson, who's our probation officer. We'll kind of make a early decision, would this person work in the program? And then after we discuss the person, we will try to see what we can do about getting that person in for an assessment with Kay Wilson, and then with a chemical dependency assessment to see if the person is high risk for use and abuse. And then after that, we'll make a decision whether a person will come into the program or not.
Is it probably somewhat balanced across the state when you look at the numbers of folks who are dealing with drugs and alcohol, or is there a discrepancy between the metro areas or the northern part of the state? Do you have any feel for that across the state, or is it just different everywhere?
I don't really have a sense or a feel for that. My suspicion would be that chemical dependency affects every community. I don't know of any studies that say it's more prevalent in this area or in that area.
I know in one of the handouts that I got from you, Carolyn, you said that the cost of putting a person in prison is about $31,000 a year per inmate right now. And the prison population in 2007 was a little over 9,000. And of that, about 1,871 were drug offenders. Mm-hmm. Is that pretty consistent kind of year in and year out? Or do you think those numbers are going up?
I think they vary. And I think that they're probably getting better at getting those numbers fine-tuned a little bit. It depends on the state. Savings can range anywhere from $4,700 a year per participant to $6,700 a year. And it really does vary from state to state, study to study. I have read statistics where they claim 80% of our prison population has some chemical dependency issues. And half of that are seriously clinically addicted. So until we really get a good handle on that, and I think that the numbers are getting better, even drug courts across the board, we've been evaluating and researching and getting better at those statistics and making sure that the research that's done and the numbers that we're working with are statistically significant. And that's a reality that we need to get a better handle on. And typically these drug courts, DUI courts, problem-solving courts are add-on programs. And they are funded a lot by grant money, by donations. And there is more of a push to try to get those numbers and the statistics accurate, so that the money that's spent is valid. The legitimacy of the program is out there, and it's being funded correctly. We don't always have that information in our general operations. So
from a cost saving standpoint, right now I'm not sure exactly of the number, but we have several participants in the DUI court that if we weren't there would have gone to prison for a commit of 36 months or 42 months. And you can multiply that annual cost by our participants, just by those 3 or 4 people, and see how much we're saving. And also dealing with a chemical dependency issue in probably a more beneficial way to the participants than simply putting them in prison. And I think on a little more local impact, we have many people who would be sitting a longer time in the Crow Wing County Jail that are now out and in the